Good morning, everyone, or wherever you are. Good evening. It's probably bedtime for a lot of you. And this is just one of my many impromptu videos. I'm sure by now you know that when you're dry, you kind of go into this weird high mode and hyper functioning mode, even though you may be tired. And so a lot of stuff came up for me yesterday during my dry. And, one of the things, like I always keep a totally open mind to the system. I try to never be 100% sold on anything because in many ways I found it's dangerous when you completely subscribe to something and not keep checking in whether it's actually working, right? So there's so many dogmas out there and people blindly subscribing to them without never ever checking, is this working for me? And this is, religion, whatever, education, so much of it, marriage. And so obviously because I work with detoxification and nutrition, and I have so for 20 years, I'm always checking and having tried so many things that sometimes worked for a while and then they didn't work. So anyway, there's this whole thing out there. In many ways, there's like the silent war out there between paleo/keto and veganism, even though oftentimes veganism is not nearly enough to actually fully heal people. So it's more paleo keto versus detoxification strategy. And so I still follow a lot of the keto people, a lot of the paleo people, and certainly the doctors that prescribe to that. And so the other day I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw this video of this particular very well-known doctor, female, who sold, many books. She's on shows and, sells her program, to a premium price. And I think she's got products, whatever. And in this video, she's looking like I can see, immediately that she's puffy, that she's inflamed, that she is overweight. And I think, well, clearly this is not working. And obviously when she wrote the book and on the cover of her book, she looks completely different. And in the blog and so forth. And it's not the first time that I've observed this. There's many other detox doctors, males with a big program, that was sold on Goop, etc. And where you go, yes, it works for you for a while because keto and paleo does work initially. I've done it. It worked for me. And I thought, wow, I had found my answer. And for some of us, it can even work for several years. But ultimately, now knowing what I know, it doesn't work because it clogs up your lymph system and because it impairs kidney function. And if I've learned one thing from this whole system, there is no detoxification on a cellular level that can actually happen unless your kidneys are filtering. There's just no way. You may be detoxing some of your other organs, but also only up to a certain degree, because unless kidneys are filtering, you are not pulling out all of the gunk that is stuck in your lymphatic system. And there is only one way to get these kidneys filtering, especially when, like most of us, I've pretty much done a high protein diet for probably 20 years, sure, with gaps in between where maybe because I couldn't sustain it, I would then cheat and have periods of high carb or whatever. But, overall 20 years of high protein, which killed my kidneys, killed my adrenals, and many other functions in my body, completely depleted my body. because protein produces high uric acid. And so, yeah, my point is, look, and obviously you're here in this group because you are looking for alternative answers, and because, most of you are on the path and have been on the path, and so that this does work. And every now and again, I like to check in and I go, wow, there's all these people selling their big programs and selling their books, but when you look at what they look like, a lot of them, go through periods where you can clearly see that they're inflamed. You can clearly see that this system is not working, and it's simply because it doesn't get to the root of the issue. And then another story that I wanted to share with you, just because it does gobsmack me anew every single time. So I accompanied a friend to the doctor the other day because she had a health scare. And even though she was on the system, she said, look, I want to know what is going on with me so that at least I know, and then we can work towards healing, in a straightforward way. And so we go to this doctor, specialist, to whom she was referred to, a lot of money. And he takes, one look at her and one look at her history, and asks all the right questions, to which when I heard the answers, I kept thinking, whoa, there's a lot of toxicity built up in your body. I'm glad you're doing this. And, and I'm thinking, all you got to do now is close your eyes and go, just keep on going with the system. And the doctor kind of goes, after he's asked all the questions and looks at the radiography and says, no, you're all fine. But he put it in such a way, instead of maybe saying, gee, yes, you don't have cancer, but, you're on your way there potentially because all the warning signs are there. Or, at least point out that, well, your body is really shutting down, and, I'm so glad you're actually doing something about it. Instead, unless she had been, I thought anybody who would have come to see him and it would not be on my program and therefore not know what I've been teaching them, they would walk out of there and continue with their old lifestyle, with their old bad habits, simply because the doctor said it was fine. And so, I hadn't been to a doctor's office in probably, 4 years, because I did when I got sick. I went to see 2 doctors, and then I very quickly realized, okay, no hope of help here. And before that, I hadn't been to a doctor in probably 8 years. Besides, birthing my children. But my point is, we are so, for most of us, we are so accustomed to make the medical system one to follow, or at least one to check in with. And more I realize the medical system, it seems now so antiquated and so utterly barbaric, actually. And that the medical system has such a low, what's the word I'm looking for? Not status, such a low, sorry guys, a low expectation of what is possible for health. So according to, what they call healthy, because basically they gave this friend of mine a pretty much clean bill of health, Yes, there's some niggles, but overall, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. You got nothing to worry about. Sent her away with a big smile. And I'm going like, wow. Like if that is your, and then again, one look at him and I mean, and it seems harsh to say, but yeah, he's riddled with toxicity and inflammation and which is not only affecting his exterior, clearly his health, because I could see the signs, but even his whole way of thinking, you know, his whole way of approaching what he is asking of life. And so that's what I'm saying is doctors, you know, they have such a low standard of what health should be like. And that's why a lot of women, you know, I mean, a lot of women have some sort of endocrine, hormonal, adrenal, thyroid issue. Literally, at least most of my clients, in fact, there's not one client of mine that doesn't have an endocrine system issue, or, you know, which is always linked to the thyroid. And so if that's my clients, I imagine it's not very different to other clients out there. And yet when doctors measure your endocrine function, your hormonal function, your adrenal function, what they say is okay is below standard. And so in many ways, it's almost as if they are, because that's what I felt, they are gaslighting you. Because you come to them with an issue, you know, which oftentimes like, well, I'm just not feeling as well as I know I could and should. And I don't know what's going on. I'm doing all the right things, but I'm not feeling as good. And then they come back and they test you and they go, nah, all your tests come back fine, you know. And eventually I realized, well, what they call fine is not fine in the least compared to what we know we are capable of. Do you understand? And so for me, that is what is so radical, is we have lowered our expectations of what is possible to get out of life so radically. And we have done so on so many levels, you know. I mean, health to me is just one of them. So that's my ramble for this morning. I hope you get something out of it. Oh, so the other point that I wanted to make is, yes, this is not, once again, it's not the easy path, because in many ways it's the lonely path. It does put you up against the system in so many ways, you know, because as we start stripping the body and as we start feeling how much our body is actually capable of and how little it needs, you know, most people when they first start, you know, conversation with me, they tell me their health issues, and then it's like, okay, and, you know, so what can I take? And oftentimes they have fairly good knowledge, you know, so they'll go like, you know, what do you think? Can I take this? Should I take that? And, you know, I've got all these 10 things and I've been taking them, but maybe I need something more. It's like, no, you need less. You need to strip the body down. You need to take away, and then you can start feeling what you actually need. And that for me is the most miraculous process. And it's like that with all of life, you know. It's this culture of adding and acquiring. And the problem with that is that it works for a while, sometimes even for a fairly long while. But ultimately, it numbs you, you see. And I'm still, even, you know, through this process, my husband and I, we are still tapping into areas of our lives, you know, in spite of us having made such radical shifts. We are still tapping into areas of our lives where we go, holy shit, we made that thing fine, but actually that's not fine. You know, there is more life, more bliss, more satisfaction to be pulled out of this area of our lives. And of course, at the same time, it's like, you know, okay, well, where is the limit? But, you know, that's where then I go, well, at least be willing to unpeel the covers. And then you can still say, okay, well, I can be fine with this, but I'm going to work on that. Or, you know, then at least you know where everything is at. But so much of our lives, we cover and we appease and we make fine. And then on the other hand, you know, I think it is like I'm the one that pulls, I've always been the one that pulls back the covers on everything. So it's almost like, okay, I've made peace with the fact that is my role. You know, it's a role that I haven't chosen consciously. It's just, that's my energy. And it makes many uncomfortable. And that's also fine, you know. But I'm here to encourage you to keep on peeling back the layers. So without making this too long, I'll finish here. And if you have any questions and feedback, as always, just type them down below. And also just briefly wanted to mention, you know, I just put out a special yesterday where I'm offering the iridiology assessment with the full report and with a list of herbs that you can get for your specific conditions, and in a brief outline of what detoxification protocol you should be focusing on, and in a 30-minute consultation with me. And so just to be clear, I'm taking on people into my team that do the iridiology. So, and I'm in the process of building a website where, you know, we can offer a larger offering to people, so that, because I don't do iridiology sessions, but obviously once I've got the report, then I know exactly what my recommendations must be for your detox. So I'm working with somebody who has just finished their course and who studied with Dr. Moore. So I'm very excited to be collaborating with him. So if you're interested in that, having your iridiology reading done is incredibly fascinating, because, I mean, it's amazing what all you can read from the eyes. Like when I had my reading done, I was amazed at how he could see, he could read the healing that I had done. You know, like he said to me, wow, like in the last years I can see you've done a lot of spiritual healing and ancestral healing. And so I was amazed that he could see that from my eyes. So there's a lot of information that can be drawn from your eyes, and a lot of genetic weakness, a lot of weakness that is recently acquired. So then at least you know exactly what you're working with, and you can gear your herbal protocol and, you know, your other practices towards healing basically the organs that need it most, you know. So it's like, where's the issue, and then it will trickle down, the healing will trickle down to the other organs. So have a look at that. It's also in the pinned post if you can't find it in the thread. And if you would like that, you know, then you can just private message me, and I'll send you a video of how to take a photograph of your eyes with your camera. It's quite simple. And then you can send that in, and, you know, sort of 7 working days max, depending on how many replies we get, we'll be able to send you out the report, and then at least you know where to start. So I'm leaving you with this and sending you all my love on this journey that is definitely not for sissies. So yes, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.